Hello everybody, and today I'm going to read Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. This is the full color edition, so you actually see the colors. Right now I want the original edition, but I realized that but no, not realized right now, but back when I got this book, I wanted it to be in full color and not the black and white version. But right now, I want the black and white version. But I don't. But at the same time, I don't want to get it because well, yeah, you know. So, anyways, let's begin. Hello. Before you read this book, there's some things you should know. So Harold and I have created this informative pamphlet to fill you in on the details. Please don't let this comic fall into the wrong hands. The Top Secret Truth About Captain Underpants by George Beard and Harold Hutchins, who deny everything. Once upon a time, there were two cool kids named George and Harold. We are cool, me too. They made their own comics about a superhero named Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la. Everybody thought that the comics were funny. Ha 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 ha. Captain Underpants, except for their mean old principal, Mr. Krupp. Blah, blah, blah. One time, Mr. Krupp was being mean to George and Harold. Blah, blah, blah. So they bought the 3D hypno ring. They hypnotized Mr. Krupp. I will obey. Then they turned him into Captain Underpants. But Mr. Krupp thought he really was Captain Underpants. He jumped out the window to fight crime. Uh-oh, tra-la-la! George and Harold tried to stop him, but they had to save the world first. When they got bad guy, kaboom! When they got back to school, George poured water on Captain Underpants' head. He turned back into Mr. Krupp, but something was wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Because now, for some strange reason, every time Mr. Krupp hears somebody snap their fingers, snap, he turns back into Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la! So whatever you do, please don't snap your fingers around Mr. Krupp. Please, 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 don't snap those fingers. This has been a public service announcement from George and Harold, who still deny everything. The end. Treehouse Comics Inc. Chapter 1, George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. Joe's Furniture. Come in and see our pretty armchairs. Time to get a new barber. Depending on who you'd ask, you'd probably hear a lot of different things about George and Harold. Once again, their teacher, Miss Ribble, might say that George and Harold were disrupted and behaviorally challenged. And her name's Miss Ribble. Very, very funny. Their gym teacher, Mr. Meaner, might add that they were in serious need of a major attitude adjustment. The principal, Mr. Krupp, would probably have a few more choice words to include. like sneaky and criminally mischievous, and I'll get those boys if it's the last thing well, you get the idea. But if you ask their parents, they'd probably tell you that George and Harold were smart and sweet and very good-hearted, even if they were a bit silly at times. I'd have to agree with their parents. Joe's furniture, come and see our pits. At first it was like Joe's furniture. Come and see our pretty armchairs. Now it's whatever this is. But even so, their silliness did get them into a lot of trouble sometimes. In fact, one time it got them into so much trouble they accidentally almost destroyed the whole planet with an army of evil, vicious, talking toilets. But before I could tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, this story. One fine morning at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School, George and Harold had just gotten out of their fourth grade remedial gym class when they saw a big sign in the hallway. It was an announcement for the second annual invention convention. Second annual invention convention. Grand prize. Blah 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 blah. George and Harold had fond memories of last year's invention convention, but this year's convention was a bit different. The first prize winner got to be principal for the day. Wow, whoever gets to be principal gets to make up all the rules for the whole day, and everybody in school has to follow those rules. We have got to win first prize this year, exclaimed Harold. Just then, George and Harold's principal, Mr. Krupp, showed up. "Aha!" he shouted. "I'll bet you two are up to no good." "Not really," said George. "We were just reading about this year's contest." "Yeah," said Harold. We're going to win first prize in the contest and be principals for the day." "Ha ha 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 ha," laughed Mr. Krupp. "Do you honestly think I'll let you two enter this year's contest after that stunt you pulled at last year's invention convention?" George and Harold smiled and thought back to the first annual invention convention. This is last year's invention convention. It was about 1 year earlier, and all of the faculty and students of Jerome Horwitz Elementary School had gathered in the gymnasium for what would be known as the sticky chair incident. George and Harold stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," said George, "Harold and I have invented something that is guaranteed to keep you all glued to your seats. Yes, we call it glue." Mr. Krupp became very angry. "You two did not invent glue," he shouted. He stood up to take the microphone away from Harold, and his chair stood up with him. Everyone in the gymnasium laughed. The school secretary, Miss Anthro, stood up to remove Mr. Krupp's chair from his pants. Her chair stood up with her too. Everyone in the gymnasium laughed even harder. The other teachers stood up and, well, you guessed it, they were stuck to their chairs as well. They were stuck to Everyone in the audience howled with laughter. One kid stood up to go to the bathroom, and his chair came up with him also. The audience stopped laughing so hard. They quickly checked their chairs, and suddenly the laughter stopped completely. Everyone in the whole school was glued to their seats. While it was true that George and Harold had not invented glue, they had invented a new kind of glue. By simply mixing rubber cement with concentrated orange juice mix, they had created a quick-drying, body heat-activated glue. Then they had applied the special glue to every seat in the gymnasium, except theirs, of course. Early that morning, everybody in the gymnasium was glaring at George and Harold and seething with anger. "I've got a good idea," said George. "What?" asked Harold. "Run!" cried George. George and Harold were grinning from ear to ear, remembering their silly invention and the chaos that followed. "That was hilarious," laughed Harold. "Yeah," chuckled George. "It'll be hard to top that this year." "Well, you won't get a chance this year," said Mr. Cook. He took out a magnifying glass and held it up to the fine print on the sign. "This contest is open to all students in the 3rd and 4th grades, except George Beard and Harold Hutchins." "You mean we can't enter the contest?" asked Harold. "It's worse than that," laughed Mr. Krupp. "You boys can't even attend this year's convention. I'm putting you two in study hall the whole day." Mr. Krupp turned and walked away, laughing victoriously. "Rats," said Harold. "What are we gonna do now?" "Well," said George, "you know the old saying, if you can't join them, beat 'em." Saga in con. Chapter 4, The Invention. Electric Apple, Automatic Shoe, Patsy 2000. Early that evening, George and Harold sneaked back to school with their supplies. They crept into the gymnasium and peeked around. I think somebody's still in here," whispered Harold. "Oh, it's just Melvin Sneedley," said George. Melvin was a school brainiac. He was busy putting some last-minute touches on his new invention for the contest. "We should wait here until he leaves," whispered Harold. "No way," said George. "He could be here all night. Let's just go over and talk to him." When Melvin saw George and Harold approaching, he was not happy. "Oh no," he said. "I bet you guys are here to mess with everybody's inventions." "Nice guess," said George. "Listen, if we promise not to mess with your invention, if you promise to tell us if you promise not to tell anybody that you saw us here tonight." Automatic teapot. Melvin looked lovingly at his invention, then reluctantly agreed. "I promise," he said. "Great," said George. "Say, what is that invention of yours anyway?" It just looks like a photocopy machine." "Well, it used to be a photocopy machine," said Melvin, "but I've made some major adjustments to it. Now it is an invention that will revolutionize the world. I call it the Patsy 2000. It'll revolutionize the world, and you named it Patsy?" asked Harold. "Yes," said Melvin. "Patsy is an acronym for photoatomic transglobulating." I'm not even going to try to read that. I'm sorry I asked, said Harold. George inspected... Wait, what? Oh. Allow me to demonstrate, said Melvin. The Patsy 2000 can take any two-dimensional image and create a living, reading, three-dimensional copy of that image. For example, take this ordinary photograph of a mouse. Melvin placed the photo of the mouse onto the glass screen of the Patsy 2000 and pressed start. And the lights in the gymnasium dimmed as all the power in the entire school seemed to get sucked into the Patsy 2000. Soon the machine began to vibrate and hum loudly, and tiny bolts of static electricity snapped out from underneath. I hope that thing doesn't explode, said Harold. Oh, this is nothing, said Melvin. You should have reacted. You should have seen how the Patsy 2000 reacted when I copied a poodle. Finally, after a series of flashes and loud zaps, everything stopped. A small ding was heard, and then a tiny mouse crawled out the side door of the Patsy 2000 and onto the floor. Isn't it wonderful? Exclaimed Melvin. George inspected the mouse closely. That's a great trick, George laughed. You really had me going for a while. It's not a trick, cried Melvin. The Patsy 2000 really does bring photos to life. I've even created living creatures from paintings and drawings. Yeah, right, laughed Harold. And I thought we were con artists. It was George and Harold walked away chuckling. It was time to move on to bigger and better things. Chapter 5, Bigger and Better Things. George and Harold went to the other end of the gymnasium, opened their backpacks, and began to work. George busied himself by turning all the spray nozzles on the automatic dog washer around, while Harold filled up the soap tank with India ink. Automatic dog washer, ping pong servomatic. Then they moved on to the volcano detector. Will you please pass me the big bag of butterscotch pudding and a Phillips head screwdriver? Asked Harold. Sure, said George, as he carefully inserted eggs into the ping-pong servomatic. Chapter 6, The Invention Convention. The following day started out sunny and cheerful. The students and faculty filed into the gymnasium and checked the seats very carefully before sitting down. Greetings, said Mr. Cup, who was standing up at the microphone. You don't need to worry about sticky seats today, he said. I've taken measures to ensure that this invention convention won't be a disaster like last year's. Everyone settled in as Madison Mancini, a third grader, stepped on stage to demonstrate her automatic dog washer. First, said Madison, you put your dog in the tub, then you press this button. Madison pressed the start button. At first nothing happened. Then suddenly a spurt of inky black water sprayed up and out over the crowd. Everyone except the dog got soaked as Madison tried desperately to turn off the sprayers. I can't stop it, she cried. Someone turned all the nozzles around. Now who could have done that? Asked Mr. Krupp. Next up was Donnie Schumacher with his ping-pong servomatic. He turned the machine on and immediately began hurling extra-large grade A eggs into the crowd. He turned the, Foop, 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 went the machine. Splat, 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 went the eggs. I can't turn the machine off, cried Donnie. Somebody jammed the paper clip into the controller. Now who could have done that? Asked Miss Ribble. Now who could have done that? Asked Miserable. Freddie Moore's volcano detector was also a big flop. Volcano detector, volcano detector, ping pong servomatic. Boing! Freddie connected the circuits to the 9-volt battery. A large spring which had been crammed into the center of his miniature volcano launched a giant plastic bag of butterscotch pudding high into the crowd. It landed somewhere between the third and fourth rows. Splat! Hey, whined Freddie. Somebody put pudding into my volcano. Now who could have done that? Said Mr. Meaner. Mr. Meaner. Mr. Meaner. Mr. Meanie. The rest of the day went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from, hey, who put oatmeal in my solar-powered leaf blower to, hey, who let all the mice out of my treadmill dune buggy? It wasn't long before... Sorry. The rest of the day went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from, hey, who put oatmeal in my solar-powered leaf blower, to, hey, who let all the mice out of my treadmill dune buggy? And if you don't know what I said sorry for, it was because the stupid voice behind me said, sorry, I couldn't catch that. Could you say that again? Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't long before everyone fled the gymnasium, and the second annual invention convention had to be called off. How could this have happened? Cried Mr. Krupp as he wiped chocolate syrup, pencil shavings, and cream of mushroom soup off his face and shirt. And George and Harold have been in study hall all day long. I put them in there myself. Excuse me, Mr. Krupp, said Melvin sweetly. I think I might have an answer to your question. Crash! Chapter 7 busted. Crash! Went the door to the study hall. Mr. Krupp stomped in like a crazy person. George and Harold had never seen him this upset before. You boys are in so much trouble, Mr. Krupp shouted. I'm putting you two on permanent detention for the rest of the school year. Wait a second, cried George. You can't prove anything. Yeah, said Harold. We've been here all day. Mr. Krupp smiled devilishly, and he looked toward the door. Oh, Melvin, he called out. Melvin Sneedley stepped into the room, covered in mustard, eggshells, and shredded coconut. They did it, Melvin said. They did it, Melvin said, pointing at George and Harold. I saw him last night in the gym. Melvin, Melvin, cried George, horrified. You promised. I changed my mind, Melvin said, grinning smugly. Have fun in detention. Chapter 8, The Invention, Convention, Detention. After school, Mr. Krupp ushered George and Harold into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. From now on, growled Mr. Krupp, you boys will spend 2 hours a day after school copying the sentence over and over. I want every chalkboard in the room filled completely. On his way out the door, Mr. Krupp turned and said with an evil grin, and if either of you leaves this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both. I will never do anything that angers my handsome and charming principal, Mr. Krupp, ever again. Now, as you might have guessed, writing sentences was nothing new to George and Harold. The two boys waited until Mr. Krupp left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Harold had drilled in George's dad's workshop. And George screwed the rods together while Harold inserted a piece of chalk into each hole. Then they each took a pole and began copying Mr. Krupp's sentence. Every time they wrote one sentence, the wooden poles made 12. After about 3.5 minutes, every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. We've got a lot of time on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said Harold. So the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all-new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Chapter 9, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Story by George Beard. Pictures by Harold Hutchins. One day at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches. The principal was yelling, blah, blah, blah. And the gym teacher was being mean to everybody. My grandma can run faster than you guys. And then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with an evil ray. The ray made all the toilets come to life. It made them evil too. The toilets were hungry. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. So they ate the gym teacher. Help! The toilets just scratched somebody's car and ate up the gym teacher. Lord have mercy, was it my car? This looks like a job for crash. Captain Underpants! Captain Underpants ran to the storage room. Yum, yum, eat 'em up, storage room. He found a bunch of plungers. He put them in the toilets with their mascots stuck. Tra-la-la! Hooray for Captain Underpants! Now to stop that evil UFO. Captain Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up, click, and out jumped the terrible Turbo Toilet 2000. I'll flush you! They had a big fight. Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband, more powerful than boxer shorts, zip, tra-la-la, kick, and able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Captain Underpants snuck up behind the Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Wedgie power! Ouchie! Then he hung the TT-2000 on a stop sign and he pulled back hard. Stretch, stop. Oof. Dang it. Then he let go. Doing, stop. Doing, kaboom! The spaceship blew up, and all the toilets returned to normal. Hooray! Even the gym teacher escaped. Aw, man. The end. Treehouse Comics Inc. George and Harold sat together in the detention room, reading through the newest comic book and beaming proudly. We've got to go to the office and make copies of this, said George, so we can show them on the playground tomorrow. We can't, said George and said Harold. Don't you remember? Mr. Cook said he'd suspend us if he caught us leaving this room. Then we won't let him catch us, said George. George and Harold sneaked out of the room quietly and crawled down the hall to the office. Uh-oh, said Harold. There's a bunch of teachers in here. They'll never get to use the copy machine. Are there any other copy machines in the school? Asked Harold. Said George. Are there any other copy machines in the school? How about the one that Melvin had in the gym? Asked Harold. Oh yeah, said George. George and Harold crept over to the gym and found the Patsy 2000. Wonder if this machine still makes copies, said Harold. Melvin did say that he made some adjustments to it. Oh, he probably crammed a mouse in there to fool us, said George. It's the oldest trick in the book. I'm sure the machine still makes regular copies. George placed the cover of their new comic book face down on the glass screen and pressed start. All at once, the lights in the whole school dimmed, and the Patsy 2000 began to shake and clunk around wildly. Giant volts of static electricity zapped out of the bottom of the machine as a great whirlwind rose from the top. Loose papers and other small objects in the room were sucked into the wind. They spun above the machine like a raging cyclone. I don't think it's supposed to do this, shouted George over the horrible noise. Finally, after a series of flashes and loud zaps, the noise, the wind, and sparks stopped altogether. The only sound that could be heard was of something groaning and clawing out of the bloated, battered frame of the Patsy 2000. It sounds like something's alive inside there, said Harold. George snatched the comic book from the top of the machine. Let's get out of here, he cried. Just then a small ding was heard, and a full-sized, shiny white toilet emerged from the side of the Patsy 2000. Its teeth were sharp and jagged, and its angry eyeballs glowed with red, swelling veins. Yum, yum, eat 'em up! Cried the evil toilet. Almost immediately, another talking toilet emerged, followed by another and another. Yum, yum, eat 'em up, they cried. Oh no! Melvin was right. The photo-atomic transongobulating. I'm not even going to try to read that again. Really does create living, breathing, three-dimensional copies of two-dimensional images. Harold cried convolutedly. I've got an idea, said George. What? Asked Harold. Run! Cried George. Chapter 11. The Invention, Convention, Detention, Suspension. George and Harold screamed and ran out the gym door, closing it tightly behind them. "Aha!" yelled Mr. Crop, who was just coming down the hall. "You boys left the detention room. You know what that means, don't you?" "It wasn't our fault," cried Harold. "Too bad," Mr. Crop shouted with delight. "You boys are officially suspended." "Jim." "Wait," cried George. "You've got to listen. Behind the door's an army of evil, vicious talk. I don't have to listen to you boys ever again," laughed Mr. Club. "Now get your stuff and get out of this school." But, Harold stammered, "you don't understand." "Get out!" Mr. Club screamed. George and Harold groaned and walked to their lockers to collect their stuff. "Gosh, and one day we've got a detention, a suspension, and we've created an army of evil talking toilets who want to take over the world." "Oh well," said he. "That's a pretty bad day, even by our standards," said George. "Oh well," said Harold. I just hope things don't get any worse." Chapter 12. Things Get Worse. Word spread quickly throughout the office that George and Harold had been suspended. The teachers rushed out to cheer and laugh at the two boys. "You're in big trouble now," chuckled Miss Anthrope. "I can't wait to call your parents and tell them the news." "Let's take their desks outside and chop them up," cried Miss Rebel. "Let's throw a party in the gym," shouted Mr. Meaner. "PDS, Alf." "No," cried George. "Whatever you do, don't open the door to the gym." "We can do whatever we like," snarled Mr. Meaner as he dashed over to the gymnasium door. "Look, I'm opening the door." He quickly opened the gym door. "Now I'm closing the door," he said. "Now I'm opening the door again, and now I'm An evil toilet has stuck its mouth through the door, and snapped Mr. Meaner up and swallowed him whole. Flush! The talking toilets then pushed their way through the gymnasium doors, spilled out into the hallway. "Yum, yum, eat 'em up!" the toilets bellowed. "Yum, yum, eat 'em up!" The teachers couldn't believe their eyes. "Snap!" they screamed and ran for their lives. Only Mr. Crop, Miss Ribble, George, and Harold remained frozen in fear. They watched paralyzed as the toilets came nearer and nearer. Finally, Miss Ribble pointed at the toilets and snapped their fingers. Snap! Or should I say, snap! "Go away!" she cried. "Go away this minute!" But the toilets didn't listen. They moved closer and closer. Finally, Miss Ribble turned and ran. Mr. Crop, however, just stood there in a daze. George and Harold looked up at him. "Uh-oh," said Harold. "Did she just snap her fingers?" "Yep," said George. "Now we're really in trouble." And George was right, for at that moment Mr. Crop had begun to change. A silly, heroic smile came over to his face as he stood defiantly before his foes. "I'll put a stop to you wild villains," he said fearlessly. "But first I need some supplies." Mr. Crop turned and dashed to his office. George and Harold ran after him. "Why did Miss Ribble have to snap her fingers?" cried Harold. "Why?" "Never mind that," cried George. "Mr. Krupp is turning into Captain Underpants. We've got to pour water over his head before it's too late." Chapter 13. It's too late. When George and Harold reached Mr. Krupp's office, they found only his clothes, shoes, and 2p on the floor. Look, said Harold. "The window is open and one of the red curtains is missing." "What do we do now?" asked George. "Do we stay here? Do we save Captain Underpants, or do we stay here and get eaten by a bunch of toilets?" "Let me think about that one," said Harold as he climbed out the window. George quickly collected Mr. Krupp's things and shoved them into his backpack. Then he jumped out the window after Harold. They took off after Captain Underpants. "Where is he going?" asked George. "I have no idea," said Harold. "But we'd better run fast, because I think we're being followed." Captain Underpants dashed through the backyards of some nearby houses of innocent folks and collected pairs of underpants from their clotheslines. "Mommy," said a little boy looking out his window, "a man in his red cape just stole our underwear." And now two boys are being chased by a ferocious-looking toilet with sharp, pointy teeth, screaming, "Yum, yum, eat 'em up!" "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right," laughed his mother. "Just how gullible do you think I am? How to lose 20 pounds in 3 days. Chapter 14. The Talking Toilet Takeover. When Captain Underpants was finished commandeering the underwear of innocent folks, he dashed back to Jerome Horwitz Elementary School to save the day from talking toilets. The school was now overrun with chaos. Everybody had been eaten. Almost everybody had been eaten. Miss Ribble came tearing out the door, followed by several evil toilets. "Help me!" she cried. "They've swallowed every teacher in the whole building except me." "Don't worry, ma'am. I won't let them eat you up," Captain Underpants said as a toilet ate her up. "Oops," said Captain Underpants. Now only George, Harold, and Captain Underpants were left. They stood on the front lawn of the school, completely surrounded by talking toilets. "Yum, yum, eat 'em up," the talking toilet said. "Yum, yum, eat 'em up. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. Yum, yum, eat 'em up." "We're doomed," cried Harold. "Never underestimate the power of underwear," said Captain Underpants as he stretched and shot underwear into the mouths of the talking toilets. Unfortunately, the toilets just swallowed them whole and didn't get sick. It just made them hungrier and hungrier. Cafeteria. If only we could think of something that would make them really sick, said George. "Yeah," Harold continued. "Something so wild and disgusting it would make them blow their cookies and writhe in agony. Finally, George and Harold's face lit up with light. "Cafeteria food!" they shouted, and faster than a speeding waistbanded, our three heroes dashed into the school. Chapter 15. Cream chip beef to the rescue. George, Harold, and Captain Underpants got inside the school safely and closed the door behind them. I think the toilets are all outside, said George. But not for long, said Harold. Quickly they ran into the school's kitchen and discovered a cart holding a large vat of something green and sludgy. Yuck, said George, holding his nose. What is that stuff? I think it's tomorrow's lunch, said Harold. Perfect, said George. I never thought I'd be glad to see cream chip beef. And together they wheeled the tub of green stinky glob down the hallway and out the side door of the school. Captain Underpants sat on the cart and stretched a pair of underwear over his head like a slingshot. George stood over him, scooped some cafeteria food into the underwear, and stretched it back. Harold wheeled the cart toward the talking toilets. Tra-la-la, shouted Captain Underpants loudly. The talking toilets turned and saw our three heroes. All at once they shouted, "Yum, yum, eat 'em up!" And the chase was on. Harold pulled the cart across the playground as the toilets zipped after them. "Fire one!" cried Captain Underpants. George shot a glob of cream-chipped beef into the first toilet's mouth. The toilet swallowed it whole. Harold kept pulling as George scooped another serving to the underwear and pulled it back. "Fire two!" cried Captain Underpants. Zip went the cafeteria food right into the second toilet's mouth. The whole process repeated itself until every last toilet had swallowed at least 2 servings of cream chip beef. "We're almost out of ammo," Captain Underpants shouted. I don't think I can run anymore," said Harold, huffing and puffing. "Don't worry, look," said George, pointing at all the toilets. They had all slowed down and were beginning to groan and wobble around. Their eyes closed and they turned an odd shade of green. "Look out!" cried Harold. "I think they're gonna hurl." They died. "Well, that was easy." "Too easy," said Harold. "Too easy," said George. "What do you mean?" asked Harold. George pulled the comic book out of his backpack and showed it to Harold. "Remember how the Patsy 2000 turned everything on the front cover of her comic book back to life?" he asked. "Yeah, so?" said Harold. "Well," said George as he pointed to the Turbo Toilet 2000 on the front cover of the comic, "just to refresh your memory, I'll show you it. This guy is getting a wedgie." "We haven't seen him yet," said George. Chapter 16, The Turbo Toilet 2000. Crash! The Turbo Toilet 2000 came out the front door with a crash. The earth rumbled beneath its mighty footsteps, and a taunt of twisting steel and raging propane descended upon our heroes. Blah, 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 blah. Captain Underpants leaped onto the Turbo Toilet 2000 and battle began. "I sure hope this doesn't lead to incredibly graphic violence," said Harold. "Me too," said George. Chapter 17, The Incredibly Graphic Violence Chapter, Part 1, in Flip-O-Rama, TM. Flip-O-Rama 1, Wedgie Power versus Potty Power. Flip-O-Rama 2. Oh no, the potty power punch prevailed. Ow, 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 hey! Flip-O-Rama 3. The carnivorous Komodo captures the captain. Ah! Crunch, ah, crunch, ah, crunch. Ha 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 ha! I will take over the world after I ate you two, said the Turbo 2000. Well, we'll stop you, said George. Wait, not you won't take over the world unless we have anything to say about it. Unless we don't have anything to say about it, yelled George and Harold. Hey Harold, I know how we can defeat him. We could just draw a robot to defeat him, and then we could put it in the Patsy 2000, and then he'll defeat them, and everything goes back to normal. So they ran into the school and locked the door behind them. The turbo toilet banged against the door, all like, "You boys can't hide in there forever." They ran into the gym. "I've got a plan," said George. "We can invent a character who can defeat a giant robo toilet." "You already said that," asked Harold. Hey, could we call it the urinator? It could be a giant robot urinal." "No way! They won't," said George. "They won't let us do that in a children's book. We're skating on thin ice as it is." "All right," said Harold. "How about a giant plunger robot guy? He can carry a really big plunger, and that's it." So Harold took out his purple ball pen and began to draw. Laser eyes, said George. "Check," said Harold. "Turbo atomic robot rocket boosters," said George. Asked George. "Check," said Harold. "Make him obeying our every command?" asked George. "Way ahead of you." "All right, let's put this in the Patsy," said George. Come on, Patsy, we really need you now," said Harold. "Yeah," said George, "the fate of the entire planet is in our hands." Chapter 19, The Incredible Robo Plunger. He took Harold's picture and placed it on the screen of the Patsy 2000 and pressed start. The lights around them dimmed as the weary machine began to shake and smoke. Lightning bolts snapped, thunder clapped, and the whole gymnasium shook with photo-atomic transomnobulatory. I'm not even gonna read this energy. "Come on, Patsy," George shouted over the horrible noise. "You can do it." "Ding! Hooray!" cried George. "It worked! Way to go, Patsy!" Harold cheered. "Now let's get outside and kick some toilet tushy." Clunk ding. Chapter 20. The incredibly graphic Wilds chapter part 2 Flip-O-Rama TM. Flip-O-Rama 4. The incredible robo plunger to the rescue. Bang, 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 bang. Hey! Ouch, that hurts. Flip-O-Rama 5. The incredible robo plunger kicks the TT2000's tushy. Kick, 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 kick. Ow, 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 ow. What are you doing? The TT2000 takes a plunge. No! Chapter 21, The Aftermath. Then Captain Underpants came out. Then Mr. Crump came out of the Turbo Toilet 2000 and was all like, "What happened here?" cried Mr. Crump. "The school has been destroyed. The teachers are all unconscious, and I'm standing here in my underwear." "Uh-oh," Harold whispered. Captain Underpants must have gotten toilet water on his head. he's turned back into Mr. Krupp. And George took his Mr. Krupp's clothes and hair out of his backpack and handed them to him. I'm ruined, Mr. Krupp whined as he dressed himself. I'm gonna be held responsible for this mess. I'm gonna lose my job. Maybe not, said George. We can fix everything and clean up this whole mess. Yeah, said Harold, but it'll cost you. Cost me what? Asked Mr. Krupp. Well, we'd like you to cancel our said George. We'd like you to cancel our detention and our suspension, and we'd also like to be principals for the day. Yeah, said Harold. All right, said Mr. Krupp. If you can really fix everything, you've got a deal. Hey, Mr. Robo-Plunger guy, you have to fix everything. You have to clean them with your superpowers. And then take all the remaining evidence to Uranus and never come back, said George. Yeah, do that, or you're gonna get a big spanking. Chapter 22. To make a long story short, the robot obeyed. In Chapter 23, After the Aftermath, the Robo-Plunger guy soared off into space just as the teachers began to become conscious all over again. I just had the strangest dream, said Miss Ribble. It was all about these evil toilets who wanted to take over the world. Yeah, we had the same dream too, said the other teachers. Well, said Mr. Krupp, things turned out all right after all. Not quite, said George. It's payback time. Chapter 24. The Invention, Convention, Detention, Suspension, Prevention. Attention, people, said George over the intercom. This is Mr. George. You are all excused from classes today, and there will be no homework or tests, and everybody gets an A+ for the day. That's right, said Principal Harold. That's right, said Mr. Harold. Also, we're hosting an all-day recess outside complete with free pizza, French fries, cotton candy, and a live DJ. Now go outside and play. Mr. George and Mr. Harold went out to the playground to behold their glorious domain. George got a slice of pepperoni pizza, while Harold made himself a banana split at the all-you-can-eat ice cream sundae bar. Hot dogs, cotton candy, pizza pals. It's good to be the principal, said George. Yep, said Harold. I wish we could be principals every day. Then they went, at the end of the school day, they went to see the unfortunate people who were spending the day writing sentences in the detention room. All the teachers were there, along with Mr. Krupp and Mullins Needley. Mr. Krupp looked out the window at the all-day recess celebration going on outside. How are you boys gonna pay for all that ice cream and pizza? He asked. I will not be a tattletale. I will stop being such a crab. I will stop being such a crab. I will chill out. I will get a life. I will be very nice to George the Great and Harold and the Amazing Harold. I will be very nice to George the Great and Harold and the Amazing Harold. Oh, we sold some stuff, said Harold. What did you sell? Asked Mr. Krupp. A bunch of stuff from from the teacher's lounge and some of your furniture too. What? Screamed Mr. Crook. I think we'd better leave now, said Harold. Snap! Hey, you come back here right now, said Miss Anthrope, as George and Harold left the detention room in a hurry. Snap! Snap! Come back here right now, she yelled. Uh-oh, did she just snap her fingers? And then, next thing you knew, Mr. Crupper dashed out of the detention room and ran down the hallway toward his office. He had a goofy, heroic, all too familiar-looking smile on his face. Oh no, cried Harold. Here we go again, said George. Tra-la-la! And that's the end of the video. My largest video yet. This is my most popular series, so I decided to share the next book with y'all. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'm out.